there! Ready for a wellness adventure? Let's explore the world of health together.
Your brain isn't just chilling on its own, you know? It's completely connected to your whole body. Isn't that wild? This system includes the spinal cord and peripheral nerves, which together act as information highways. According to national neuroscience research institutions, these structures allow continuous two-way communication between the brain and body, carrying sensory information inward and motor commands outward. The spinal cord is a long cylindrical structure that extends from the base of the brain down through the vertebral column. It is protected by bones, connective tissue, and cerebrospinal fluid. The spinal cord serves as a central pathway for signals traveling between the brain and the body. It is not simply a passive cable. It also processes certain types of information independently, particularly in reflex actions. Peripheral nerves branch out from the spinal cord and extend throughout the body. These nerves form the peripheral nervous system, which connects muscles, skin organs, and glands to the central nervous system. According to public health and medical research agencies, peripheral nerves are composed of bundles of axons that carry electrical signals over long distances. Information traveling through this system can be divided into two main categories: sensory pathways and motor pathways. Sensory pathways carry information from the body to the brain. Motor pathways carry instructions from the brain to the body. Sensory pathways begin with specialized receptors located throughout the body. These receptors detect changes in the environment, such as temperature, pressure, pain, light, and sound. For example, when you touch a hot surface, temperature and pain receptors in the skin detect the change and convert it into electrical signals. Once the signal reaches the spinal cord, it may follow different routes. Some signals travel upward to the brain for processing and conscious awareness. Others may trigger immediate responses at the spinal level. According to neuroscience research supported by government institutions, this dual pathway allows for both rapid reflexes and detailed perception. A reflex is a rapid, automatic response that does not require conscious decision-making. For example, if you touch something extremely hot, your hand may withdraw before you consciously register the pain. This happens because sensory neurons connect directly to motor neurons through interneurons within the spinal cord. This pathway, known as a reflex arc, allows for fast protective responses. Motor pathways carry signals in the opposite direction. They begin in the brain or spinal cord and travel outward to muscles or glands. When you decide to move your hand, motor commands originate in the motor cortex of the brain. These signals travel down through the spinal cord and into peripheral motor nerves, which activate specific muscle fibers. Motor control is not a single-step process. The brain sends coordinated signals that control multiple muscles simultaneously. Sensory feedback and cerebellar coordination. Without sensory input, motor control becomes inaccurate because the brain cannot adjust movements in real time. Peripheral nerves are organized based on the type of information they carry. Some nerves are primarily sensory, others are primarily motor, and many contain both types of fibers. These mixed nerves allow communication to flow in both directions within the same bundle. This organization increases efficiency and reduces the need for separate pathways for each function. Another important distinction is between somatic and visceral pathways. Somatic pathways involve voluntary control of skeletal muscles and conscious sensory experiences such as touch and temperature. Visceral pathways involve internal organs and automatic processes such as heart rate and digestion. While both types of pathways use similar structural principles, they serve different functions. The speed of signal transmission in these pathways depends on factors such as axon diameter and myelination. Larger, myelinated fibers conduct signals faster than smaller, unmyelinated ones. This is why reflexes and certain sensory signals can occur very quickly. According to national medical research, rapid conduction is essential for survival in situations requiring immediate response. Damage to the spinal cord or peripheral nerves can disrupt communication between the brain and body. The effects depend on the location and severity of the damage. For example, injury to the spinal cord can block signals below the level of injury, affecting both sensation and movement. Peripheral nerve damage may affect specific regions of the body, leading to numbness, weakness, or loss of coordination. Public health data show that early detection and treatment of nerve injuries can improve outcomes. But recovery depends on the extent of damage and the ability of neural pathways to reorganize. Some peripheral nerves can regenerate to a limited extent. When you pick up a glass of water, sensory receptors in your hand detect pressure and position. This information travels to the brain, which adjusts motor commands to maintain grip strength and coordination. If the glass begins to slip, sensory feedback triggers rapid adjustments in muscle activity. This continuous loop allows precise control of movement. The spinal cord also organizes signals into segments. Each segment corresponds to specific regions of the body. Nerves emerging from different levels of the spinal cord control different muscle groups and receive input from different areas of skin. Medical professionals use this segmental organization to diagnose nerve injuries based on patterns of sensory loss or motor weakness. In addition to reflexes and voluntary movement, the spinal cord plays a role in basic rhythmic activities such as walking. Research supported by public neuroscience institutions shows that certain neural circuits in the spinal cord can generate repetitive movement patterns even without direct input from the brain. These circuits are known as central pattern generators. The communication system formed by the spinal cord and peripheral nerves is continuous and dynamic. Signals are constantly being transmitted, adjusted, and integrated. This system allows the body to respond to changes in the environment, maintain posture, coordinate movement, and protect itself from harm. In summary, the spinal cord and peripheral nerves function as information highways connecting the brain to the body. Sensory pathways carry information inward, allowing the brain to monitor internal and external conditions. Motor pathways carry instructions outward, enabling movement and response. Reflex pathways provide rapid protection, while ongoing feedback loops support coordination and control. This integrated system ensures that the brain and body operate as a unified whole. Not all communication between the brain and body is under conscious control. Many essential functions happen automatically, without deliberate thought. These processes are managed by the autonomic nervous system. According to national medical and neuroscience research institutions, the autonomic nervous system regulates internal organs, glands, and physiological states such as heart rate, breathing patterns, digestion, and energy use. The autonomic nervous system is divided into two main branches: the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. These two systems often have opposite effects, but they work together to maintain balance in the body. This balance is not static. It shifts depending on the situation, such as resting, eating, exercising, or responding to stress. The sympathetic nervous system is commonly associated with the body's response to challenge or threat. When activated, it prepares the body for action. This is sometimes referred to as the fight or flight response. According to public health research, sympathetic activation increases heart rate, dilates the airways, redirects blood flow to muscles, and releases stored energy. These changes support rapid physical response. An everyday example illustrates this clearly. If a person hears a sudden loud noise at night, the sympathetic system activates quickly. The heart begins to beat faster, breathing becomes more rapid, and attention sharpens. These changes occur before conscious analysis fully develops. The purpose is to prepare the body to respond to potential danger. The parasympathetic nervous system has a different role. It supports rest, recovery, and maintenance functions. This system is sometimes described as rest and digest. When parasympathetic activity is dominant, heart rate slows, digestion is stimulated, and energy is conserved. According to government-supported physiology research, this system promotes long-term health by supporting repair and regulation processes. After the perceived threat passes, parasympathetic activity helps return the body to a stable state. Heart rate decreases, breathing normalizes, and digestion resumes. This shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic dominance is essential. Without it, the body would remain in a prolonged state of activation, which can affect multiple systems over time. It is important to understand that these two systems are not simply on or off. They operate continuously, with one becoming more dominant depending on context. For example, during exercise, sympathetic activity increases to support physical effort. After exercise, parasympathetic activity helps restore baseline conditions. According to public medical research, healthy regulation involves flexible switching between these states. The autonomic nervous system also controls processes that are not immediately noticeable. It regulates pupil size, blood vessel diameter, and glandular activity. For example, in bright light, pupils constrict automatically. In low light, they dilate to allow more light to enter. These adjustments occur without conscious control but are essential for visual function. Another key feature of the autonomic system is that it works through two neuron pathways. Signals from the brain travel to an intermediate neuron and from there to the target organ. This structure differs from somatic motor pathways, which often involve a single direct connection to muscle. According to neuroscience research, this arrangement allows for more modulation and integration of signals before they reach the target. The sympathetic and parasympathetic systems often influence the same organs in opposite ways. For example, the sympathetic system increases heart rate, while the parasympathetic system decreases it. In the digestive system, sympathetic activity slows digestion, while parasympathetic activity stimulates it. This opposing action allows fine control rather than simple activation or deactivation. Stress provides a clear example of autonomic regulation. During a stressful event, sympathetic activity increases to prepare for action. If the stressor is short-lived, parasympathetic activity restores balance afterward. However, if stress is prolonged, the system may remain in a state of elevated activation. According to public health agencies, chronic activation of stress pathways can influence sleep, immune function, and cardiovascular health. This does not mean that sympathetic activation is harmful. It is necessary for survival and performance. Problems arise when activation is prolonged without adequate recovery. The autonomic system is designed for flexibility, not constant high activation. Understanding this distinction helps clarify why both systems are essential rather than opposing forces where one is good and the other is bad. The autonomic nervous system also interacts with emotional and cognitive processes. For example, anxiety involves both mental experience and physiological activation. The brain's interpretation of a situation can influence autonomic responses, and bodily states can influence perception and decision-making. According to neuroscience research, this interaction forms a feedback loop between brain and body. Breathing provides a practical example of partial control. Breathing is regulated automatically by the autonomic system, but it can also be influenced voluntarily. Slow, controlled breathing can increase parasympathetic activity, promoting a calmer physiological state. Public health research has documented that breathing patterns can influence heart rate variability, which reflects autonomic balance. Another everyday example involves digestion. After eating a meal, parasympathetic activity increases to support digestion. Blood flow shifts toward the digestive system, and processes such as enzyme secretion and nutrient absorption become more active. If a person experiences acute stress during this time, sympathetic activation may temporarily slow digestion. This illustrates how autonomic responses adjust based on competing demands. The autonomic nervous system also plays a role in maintaining internal stability, known as homeostasis. It continuously adjusts physiological variables to keep them within functional ranges. For example, it regulates body temperature by controlling sweating and blood vessel dilation. It regulates blood pressure by adjusting heart rate and vascular resistance. According to government medical research, these adjustments occur constantly, often without conscious awareness. Disruptions in autonomic regulation can affect multiple body systems. Conditions that alter autonomic balance may lead to symptoms such as irregular heart rate, digestive disturbances, or abnormal blood pressure responses. Public health institutions emphasize that these symptoms often reflect regulatory issues rather than isolated organ problems. In summary, the autonomic nervous system manages automatic processes that support survival and daily functioning. The sympathetic system prepares the body for action, while the parasympathetic system supports rest and recovery. These systems work together in a dynamic balance that shifts depending on context. Their coordinated activity regulates heart rate, digestion, breathing, and many other processes. Understanding the system clarifies how the body adjusts continuously to internal and external demands without requiring conscious control. The nervous system includes a third component that operates largely outside conscious awareness but plays a central role in daily functioning, the enteric nervous system. This system is embedded in the walls of the gastrointestinal tract and is responsible for regulating digestion. According to national medical research institutions, the enteric nervous system contains millions of neurons organized into networks that can operate independently of the brain and spinal cord. Because of this relative independence, the enteric nervous system is sometimes referred to as the second brain. This term does not mean it thinks or feels in the same way as the brain. Instead, it reflects the fact that it can coordinate complex processes without direct instructions from the central nervous system. These processes include controlling muscle contractions that move food, regulating enzyme secretion, and managing blood flow within the digestive system. The enteric nervous system is organized into layers within the gastrointestinal tract. These layers form interconnected networks that control different aspects of digestion. One network primarily regulates muscle movement, while another regulates secretion and absorption. According to public physiology research, this organization allows digestion to proceed in a coordinated sequence, from the moment food enters the stomach to its movement through the intestines. One of the most important functions of the enteric system is controlling peristalsis. Peristalsis refers to the wave-like contractions of muscles that move food along the digestive tract. These movements are not random. They follow a coordinated pattern that ensures food is mixed, broken down, and transported efficiently. The enteric nervous system regulates the timing and strength of these contractions without requiring conscious control. Although the enteric nervous system can function independently, it does not operate in isolation. It communicates continuously with the central nervous system through pathways often referred to as the gut-brain axis. Signals travel from the gut to the brain and from the brain to the gut. According to government-supported neuroscience research, this bidirectional communication influences digestion, appetite, and certain aspects of emotional and physiological regulation. For example, when a person feels nervous before a stressful event, they may experience changes in stomach activity. This occurs because signals from the brain influence enteric function through autonomic pathways. At the same time, signals from the gut can influence brain activity. Sensory neurons in the digestive system send information about internal conditions to the brain, contributing to awareness of hunger, fullness, or discomfort. This interaction is sometimes described in everyday language as a gut feeling. Scientifically, it reflects communication between neural pathways rather than intuition in a psychological sense. According to public health research, these signals contribute to interoception, which is the perception of internal bodily states. It is important to avoid oversimplifying this relationship. While the gut and brain communicate, not all mental states originate in the digestive system. Popular discussions sometimes suggest that most emotions or mental health conditions are caused directly by the gut. Public medical research does not support such broad claims. The gut-brain axis is one component of a complex system that includes neural, hormonal, and environmental factors. The enteric nervous system also interacts with the microbiome, which refers to the community of microorganisms living in the digestive tract. These microorganisms can influence chemical signaling in the gut. According to research funded by national health agencies, certain metabolites produced by gut bacteria can affect signaling pathways that communicate with the brain. However, this field is still developing, and many proposed mechanisms require further investigation. Understanding this distinction helps prevent misinterpretation. The presence of communication between gut and brain does not mean that digestive changes alone explain psychological conditions. It means that internal bodily signals contribute to overall regulation. Mental processes still involve distributed brain networks, as discussed in earlier chapters. Another key function of the enteric system is regulating secretion. Digestive glands release enzymes and fluids that break down food into absorbable components. The enteric nervous system controls when and how much of these substances are released. This regulation depends on factors such as the type of food consumed and the stage of digestion. According to physiology research from public institutions, this coordination ensures efficient nutrient absorption. The enteric system also contributes to immune function within the digestive tract. The gastrointestinal system is exposed to external substances through food intake. The enteric nervous system interacts with immune cells to help distinguish between harmless substances and potential threats. This interaction supports protective responses while maintaining tolerance to normal dietary components. An everyday example illustrates how these processes work together. After eating a meal, the enteric nervous system increases muscle contractions to move food through the stomach and intestines. It stimulates enzyme release to break down nutrients. It adjusts blood flow to support absorption. At the same time, signals are sent to the brain indicating fullness. This integrated response occurs automatically without conscious planning. The enteric nervous system also adapts based on experience. Changes in diet, stress levels, and physical activity can influence how digestive processes are regulated. For example, irregular eating patterns may alter timing of digestive activity. Stress can influence motility and secretion through interactions with the autonomic nervous system. These adjustments reflect the flexibility of the system rather than a fixed pattern. Disruptions in enteric function can lead to digestive symptoms such as altered motility or sensitivity. Public health institutions emphasize that these symptoms often involve multiple interacting factors, including neural signaling, muscle function, and environmental influences. Interpreting such symptoms requires considering the entire system rather than attributing them to a single cause. It is also important to understand that the enteric nervous system does not replace the brain in decision-making or emotional processing. It contributes signals related to internal bodily states, but higher-level cognition and emotional interpretation occur in brain networks. The enteric system supports bodily regulation rather than independent mental experience. In summary, the enteric nervous system is a network of neurons embedded in the gastrointestinal tract that regulates digestion, movement, secretion, and interaction with immune processes. It can operate independently but communicates continuously with the brain through the gut-brain axis. This communication influences bodily awareness and physiological states without implying that all mental processes originate in the gut. Understanding this system provides a more accurate view of how internal bodily regulation contributes to overall function while maintaining clear distinctions between digestive processes and cognitive or emotional activity. Thanks for watching World Wellness Mind, Brain, and Behavior.
Thanks for watching! Hope you liked it!